Do you ever sometimes think that the brain gave itself its own name? Because I don't. What's good, everyone on YouTube? It's me again, back with another video. And today we are going back to another brand that I just haven't really talked about much on the channel. I have one other review about this brand, and we're actually talking about another Saucony shoe. And for today's video, we've got a pretty interesting collaboration between Saucony and N Clothing, which is a UK-based retail store based around mostly men's fashion and streetwear. And for this collaboration, the inspiration behind this shoe's design was actually the human brain. So if you want to get super meta about it, the brain has given itself its own collaboration, which is kind of nutty when you start thinking about it. It's enough to give you an existential crisis. But enough with the rambling. Today we'll be talking about the Saucony Grid Azura 2000 End collaboration in the Brain colorway. Let's just go with that. So with the intro out of the way, let's get into the box. So with this End collaboration with Saucony, we get this pretty plain white box, and we've got Saucony on the top and a little brain with End written on it. And if we move to the side where the label is, you can actually see this sort of mix of pink, purples, browns and stuff. And this is supposed to be like inspired by the creased brain. And this pattern is more obvious once you slide out the box on the second layer of the box. And then we've got some pretty just standard brandless paper, nothing too special there. And the shoes are stuffed with pretty standard packing paper. And attached to one of the shoes, we actually had a set of extra laces. I've actually already swapped out those laces, but they originally come with pink laces. And on the shoe itself, it comes with these cream style laces. I personally think the pink looks a bit better, so that's why I swapped it over. And last thing in terms of the collaboration goodies, and something that's kind of just fun to have, we actually get a little End brain stress ball. So it's sort of shaped in the in an actual brain, and it's very nice and squishy, and I don't know if it makes it worth the retail price, but it was a nice little addition to this package. And then if we move to the label, it reads Grid Azura 2000, and the colorway is pink and off-white rose. Okay, sure thing. So the retail price on these, at least off N Clothing, I won the raffle, and after shipping it ended up being around 282 Australian dollars. I'll put the conversion here. And to be 100% honest, I've seen the Azura 2000s go for almost 100 Australian dollars on sale for like regular colorways. So it is quite a steep price to pay. And currently I think they're still sitting on the website, but I do think the material choices and just the little story behind it is interesting enough to, you know, pick up. So, the box out of the way, let's get into the shoes. And here we are, the Saucony Azura Grid Azura 2000 in the N collaboration Brain colorway. So, the Azura 2000 is very much like a classic looking sort of chunky shoe with a whole bunch of overlays and layering, which really gives the shoe a great opportunity for good color blocking. And the color blocking really doesn't disappoint on this shoe. So starting off with like the main, I guess, like teeth that come up, this is done in a sort of like darkish gray, or not really a dark gray, like a light gray suede or nubuck. And then just underneath that layer, we've got a few cream colored nubuck layers. And occasionally there are some suede layers as well, which looks really nice. And then on the base layer where this red is, this is actually a really thin, like almost like fish wire kind of like mesh. So you can actually see through it pretty easily, and when you wear like different, I would say like colored socks, you can sort of see it come through. Now it won't exactly come through completely, but like if you wear white socks it'll look a little brighter, but if you wear dark socks it'll look a little darker. So socks do matter in this particular shoe, so that is something to keep in mind. And then we've also got some pink nubuck overlays around the heel and some layers on the outside of the shoe, as well as on the tongue. And speaking of the tongue, we've got this co-branding on the tongue with Saucony and End written on it. And then as you can see, I've put the pink laces in because I think it looks better. And on the ends of the pink laces, we actually have End written on the aglets. Then on the back we've got the Saucony logo as well as on the side. And I do quite like how the Saucony logo looks on this shoe. It has this nice sort of like fast look to it. Makes me look fast even though it's a chunky shoe. And there is a small sort of silver panel that runs along the heel of the shoe. And this is actually 3M reflective, so when you hit the shoe with flash, you'll get a nice pop to it. And then moving to the insole, we've actually got the same brain sort of graphic that we saw on the box itself. So it's got a lot of creases, so I assume the brain they modeled this off of was a very smart person because there's a lot of creases in this brain. And then moving down to the midsole. The midsole is probably the most standard thing about this shoe. We've got this grid branding on the side, and it's just got this pretty standard contouring. It's just done in a white foam. And then moving to the outsole, it gets interesting again. We've actually got this icy blue outsole on at least the front portion of the shoe, where you can see the brain print again. And the green portions of the outsole are actually glow in the dark, so it's an interesting detail that they decided to add. I don't think you'll see it often, but it's nice to know that it's there. And then moving to the heel, you've got this grid branding and then a sort of clear window that seems to be showing, I guess, the grid cushioning, which actually is quite fitting because it's just a sort of square pattern. So that pretty much covers the main features of this particular shoe. In terms of sizing, they only had full sizes on N Clothing, and I decided to go enter a size 10. And I will say the size 10 is okay, but it's definitely longer than I probably would have liked. So honestly, I'd probably just say if you have the opportunity to get this shoe true to size, that would be my recommendation. Because at a half size up, it's okay, but it's a bit long. So I'm a true to size 9.5 in most of my sneakers. I bought these in a US 10 and they're a bit long, but definitely workable, but I would still recommend true to size. Now, in terms of comfort, the grid outsole and midsole sort of setup just feels like a pretty standard like running shoe of like, you know, the past. It's nothing too crazy. It's not like Boost or like Zoom X or React or any of the new cushioning that exists these days. It's pretty old school tech. And I'm pretty sure this is an old school runner. I don't know too much about the history, but I assume this is old school just by the looks of it. The upper itself, the materials are quite premium, and I actually do think because of this like fish wire mesh that they've decided to use, it helps a lot with the breathability and the flexibility in certain sections of the shoe. So that change has been quite welcome. But aside from that, the overlays and stuff are really made for aesthetic purposes rather than actual performance. So it sort of feels like what you would expect for shoes of this kind of design. So overall, I would say it is a pretty standard feeling like chunkier shoe on feet. Nothing too crazy, but nothing offensive. Now I get into the part of the video where I talk about my opinions of this shoe. And I'm always a sucker for, I've always had a soft spot for like pink or like sort of like fruity looking shoes. And this shoe just sort of really like stuck out to me when I saw it for the first time. I really like the overlays that they've used on this. It's got this like sort of like teeth kind of like raising up onto the upper of the shoe. Now, it kind of does, now that I'm looking at it a little longer, it kind of reminds me a little bit about the Yeezy 450s, but I just think the shape on that is a bit too weird for me to get down with. But the teeth on this more standard looking shoe I think looks really nice. I love the way the pink and the greys and the creams sort of play off each other. Even just the little bit of green on the outsole actually goes together pretty well. And overall, just as like a sort of like fun concept of like, let's model something after a brain, I actually think it does a pretty good job in conveying the look, or like translating the idea of a brain rather than having a literal brain shoe. So overall, I would say it's quite a nice chunky shoe. And you know, I'm going into winter now, or we'll be going into winter in Australia pretty soon. So I don't know if I'd be wearing it much these days, but like once the summer comes around, this with like a pair of shorts, I would imagine would be an absolute banger on feet. So enough with the rambling. With that, we've come to the end of another video. So I'd love to hear what you guys think of the Saucony Grid Azure 2000s in this N collaboration. And yeah, any other Saucony models that you would recommend to me, just let me know down in the comments, because like I said in the last video, I still very much am new to the brand, and this is only my second purchase from the brand, but I do think they definitely have some sleeper hits. The one I had before, the Time and Space, which I still have, I think are an absolute banger. So love to hear what you guys have to say. So like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section down below, and if you guys are into dance, sneakers, vlogs, that sort of thing, consider subscribing to the channel. Time for the on feet, and I'll catch you guys in another video. A lot of hand gestures in that last bit. Wow, woo.